Hello, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining me. It's Big Dr. F. Richards. Thanks for joining. Glad you could join me today. I am Derek Loudermilk, and I host the Art of Adventure podcast. Oh, someone's giving me lots of hearts. Thank you. And I am going to... Oh, Yoga Lise, hello. Thanks for joining. I'm going to be talking about adventure. And why do I know anything about adventure? Well, I host the Art of Adventure podcast, and I just recently got back from the podcast movement conference in Texas, which was really, really great. Learned lots of stuff, and I'll be implementing some of those ideas soon. And I would tell people about my show. I would say I host this podcast called The Art of Adventure, and right away everyone perked up. They were like, "Ooh, adventure! I like adventure." So why do we like adventure? You know, it's interesting because the name The Art of Adventure sort of found me. I stole the words "art of" from another favorite podcast of mine, The Art of Charm, and The Art of Manliness. So art of is a good one. But why adventure? And what is adventure exactly? It's sort of this nebulous idea that we all sort of like, but we can't really articulate necessarily what it is and why we like it. So I recently published an article. I've been thinking about this a lot, and so I'm just going to talk a little bit about that article. And let's start with the definition of adventure from the dictionary, which is an unusual, exciting, typically hazardous experience or activity. And so right here we have key elements, the key ideas being excitement, some element of risk or challenge, and the experience itself. So what can adventure teach us? Why is it good to have adventures? And what do you gain by having one of these experiences? Because you can't be adventuring all the time. So it's by definition a finite part of your day or life when you're actually going on an adventure. So some recent examples of adventures that I've been on: climbing volcanoes in Bali, learning to surf, breaking into an old cement factory here in St. Louis to look around. That's cement land created by Bob Castley, and looking at graffiti and stuff. And the big part of all this is that you become in control of your life. When you decide to go on an adventure, you are the one making decisions about your safety. You have to decide, split second, physically, like what are you going to do with your body? Basically, the outcome of the activity is in your hands. And a lot of times in our lives, I feel that things are beyond our control, or they feel like they're beyond our control. And during an adventure, your life is in your hands, and it gives you this power of decision making and control of your life, which I think is one of the greatest gifts of humanity. You would recommend a person to do for their first adventure. What would I recommend? Well, I ask a lot of people. Actually, I ask everyone at the end of my podcast. I say, what's your definition of adventure? And it usually has to do something like a challenge, maybe getting outside your comfort zone, going to a new place. And so adventure is pretty broadly defined. Anytime you feel a little uncomfortable about doing something, for me recently it was learning to dance or learning to sing. That's the sort of thing that I know is a signal that it's time to have an adventure. If I'm uncomfortable, like I've never done karaoke. It really scares me, and I know that if I were to go do karaoke, that would be a big adventure. And so start with the little things that make you feel a little uncomfortable, but you think you could do them. How's that answer? Thanks for the question. And I think that idea of having a little bit of bravery and courage to get started on an adventure is a big part of it. Adventure will do what for your life as an entrepreneur? Yeah, we'll get into that. Specifically, as an entrepreneur, if you want to start something new, if you want to create a new product, if you want to launch a business, if you want to get funding, there's a lot of times this confidence that's needed to take that first step. If you don't believe that it's going to succeed, then you probably won't take that first step. And so these small adventures, these little challenges that take active willpower, that take acts of bravery, are going to build up that confidence so that when you're an entrepreneur, these things like approaching someone to ask them to fund your company seem much easier. Another big part of the what you'll get on a personal level from adventure is it's exciting. It creates exciting memories. If you can remember 6 weeks ago what you had for lunch, that's amazing, because I have no idea most of the time what I'm doing. I don't remember my day-to-day activities. What I do remember is the specific events that stick out and have importance. And so the more adventures you have, I think the more diverse memories you'll have, and maybe the more memories you'll have in total. And in the book Moonwalking with Einstein, Joshua Foer, the author, talks about how memories make us human. They make us who we are. And so if you can craft your life in such a way by having adventures that you'll create more memories, you're breaking out of routine, that will theoretically make you more human, and you'll have a broader array of experience to pull from. Okay, now we are going to talk about adventure, and one of my favorite interviews was with Dr. Rick Hansen, who wrote Hardwiring Happiness, and he said something that really stuck with me, and that's when I asked him what adventure was. He said adventure was contribution to the world. And what does that mean exactly? And I started thinking about that. And a lot of times adventure starts with curiosity. What are we going to explore in our minds, in the world? Why do we want to start a business? Whatever it is, we're curious about the outcome. For the adventurers of the past century, they wanted to know what was it going to be like when they summited Everest for the first time? What was it going to be like to come back from the South Pole? How am I going to feel and act when things get hard? And if you think about the book 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel, he's talking about the difference between iterative improvements, so the iPhone 5 to the iPhone 6, versus creating something totally new, the first iPhone, for example. Adventure is opening the possibility of creating something that's never been done before, and that's really hugely important. The species, humanity, civilization, technology has never advanced from the status quo. It's always been someone from the outside shaking things up dramatically, bringing in new ideas, and I think that's a big part of adventure. If you look at the benefits from that, if you look at the man on the moon, putting a man on the moon, we had corollary benefits of computing technology, electrical systems for planes, and all sorts of piloting. What else did we get with that? Telecommunications, we had to communicate with those guys. So there's all sorts of corollaries that come from that big adventure. And you can't always predict what the benefits are from having an adventure. So that's why I say you have to just trust the system. You have to keep going on adventures. When I think about science, I discovered a new species in Yellowstone about 3 years ago. It lives in the hot springs, and there was a choice I could have made. I could have worked on E. coli, which is something that millions of people all over the world, really look at. and sort of like incrementally learn more about a single species, or I could have sought out a new species. And that was my goal, because the potential upside is infinite. Discovering something new, it may have no benefit at all, but like Einstein's theories of relativity leading to atomic power and all that stuff, the potential upside is infinite. And so I think it's better to err on the side of adventure, on the side of creating something new, to focusing on incremental gains, if you put it that way. If you're liking this, invite your friends if you want. And I've got a couple more thoughts for you here. We've talked about what it means for your own personal development to go on adventures. We've talked about how it can benefit society to go on adventures. And lastly, we're going to talk about how it can affect your ability to inspire and influence others. So adventures in and of themselves provide great stories. They are great examples for other people to learn from, and they have proof in them. And if you think about a story, you have this natural arc of conflicts and resolution that makes a good story. And an adventure is also that follows that same arc of a good story, because an adventure usually has some sort of hurdle, some tension, some challenge that you're getting over. And so by going on an adventure, you can create a story that then is useful as a teaching tool for other people. And if you think about adventure, it's hardwired into human nature, just like story is hardwired. If I said, let me tell you a story, or once upon a time, your ears are going to perk up. And if you think back to ancient people sort of spreading across the globe in tribal days, the tribe might get to a certain size, 150 people, Dunbar's number, and then the food supplies might be being stressed, so a certain group of that tribe goes to the next valley over to see how the food is over there. And it gives us a rush of dopamine, of exploration, and it's a benefit to the species as a whole if we can, expand and use food resources in multiple regions. So, and then of course, there's the story that comes with, we went over here, we found a good place to eat, there's plenty of buffalo or whatever, tell you the story, come with me. And so going on an adventure, experiencing something, again, that's a little risky, stepping outside of that comfort of the bubble and going exploring, creates benefit for others, creates stories, and it also creates personal flow. So if we talk about flow states, the theory of optimal experience, originally described by Mihai Csikszentmihalyi in his book Flow, and recently in The Rise of Superman by Stephen Kotler, we know that flow states, the challenge of an adventure, and you being able to meet those challenges on an ever-increasing level. So you go do harder and harder adventures, and you get better and better at meeting those challenges. That increases your rate of learning by 500%. So, for example, the 4-minute mile. When the 4-minute mile was broken, and now I'm mixing my metaphors. So first, I'm mashing up two ideas here together. To get into a flow state, you need this increasing rate of challenges, and you're going to be learning and acquiring skills much, much faster in a flow state. So if you can hack into flow by going on adventures, you can accelerate your rate of learning. Idea number one. Idea number two there was the proof. Hey, Samuel. Thanks for joining, buddy. What's happening? I interviewed Samuel at Podcast Movement just a few days ago. Definitely check out his show, which is type that in if you would. It's self. Hey, yeah, hey Samuel. Self-confidence. Courageous Self-Confidence is the name of Samuel's podcast. Check that one out. Anyway, so we're talking about proving to others that something can be done after the first person does it. So the 4-minute mile, nobody thought it was possible. As soon as, I don't even remember, Roger Bannister broke it for the first time, it opened the floodgates for all kinds of other people to start breaking the 4-minute barrier. And it's happened time and again with rock climbers in Yosemite. There's a route that no one can do. One guy from Europe comes and doesn't know that no one can do it, climbs it, and then the same day everyone else can do it all of a sudden, just like magic. So your adventures are providing the proof for other people. They're raising the bar, whether it's in, yes, a breakthrough, exactly. You're creating these breakthroughs that then, tell people it's okay to look to this level. So those are a few of the ideas I've been thinking about recently. Sometimes I use the filter, is this adventurous, to decide whether I'm going to do something and force myself to try it, to get uncomfortable, to create an experience for myself that's exciting and new and memorable. Other people use this against me. I'll be like, I don't know if I want to do that, or I'm kind of scared. For example, when I was mountain biking for the first time in 2 years in New Zealand, my friend was like, hey, aren't you the adventure guy? Like, you have to do this. Go off this huge jump that you have no business going off. And I was like, fine. I'll do it because I have to, because it's, you called me out on it. Hey, Weston Pock, thanks for joining. And yeah, so I try to regularly say yes to adventure because I know that something good is going to happen if I have enough adventures. And, it's okay to go adventure purely for your own enjoyment as well. You're going to improve your self-confidence, your ability to inspire others. You're going to contribute by creating something new. And, just trust the process. So, okay, I'll leave you guys with this question because it's what I ask everyone at the end of my show. And you can feel free to type in the answer. What is your definition of adventure? Anybody who wants to define their own version of adventure here? Okay, well, my definition of adventure is constantly changing. Okay, Dr. Richard says, doing something I've never done. Yeah, that's a huge part of it. It's, a lot of times it involves getting out your door, but you can go on an adventure in your own mind, meditation, going where you've never been, doing things that scare you. Thanks, Weston. There's just something about not knowing what's going to happen, but trusting that you're going to be able to succeed. Yoga Elise, accepting loss of control. Yeah, that's a great one. Because you don't know what's going to happen, and you can still trust that you'll get through it and learn something and be okay. I think that's a huge relief for people to know that they have that ability in themselves. So love it. I love your answers, guys. Thank you so much for joining. And if you want to check out the podcast, the name is The Art of Adventure. That's why I've been thinking so much about adventure. And DerekLoudermilk.com is where you can find the show notes and the articles I write. If you're interested in coming on an adventure with me, I have a course coming up, a retreat for entrepreneurs in Bali. It's an adventure-style retreat. That's going to be awesome. You can check this out, Adventures in Entrepreneurship. That's coming up in September. and I'm super excited about that. We're going to go on some adventures together in Bali. So thanks for joining me, and I will say goodbye for now. See you guys soon.